almost seem like a testing ground in how much bad capitalist shit can we get away with that we can then go, oh, that worked in video games. Let's do that for everything now. And now it's already too late. Does that make sense? I'm not the type of nerd that's really into video games, but I'm excited to learn more today.
And I have been playing video games almost nonstop since I was 13. I'm 34 years old, and I love them. The
two genders.
The two genders of video games. That being said, I'm Charles.
And I'm Alex.
And this is the Day Chaser podcast, which I forgot to say in the last 4 episodes. But anyway, we're talking about the Batman Arkham video games, but we're also talking about the Warner Netflix merger in general, not just because it's topical, but because there's some interesting philosophies associated with being a video gamer that I wanted to share with Alex as someone who didn't really play them much. Why don't you talk a little bit about that before I dive into my end?
Sure. I had video games growing up, but they stressed me out. So what I always ended up doing, almost without fail, was I would see a game I thought I wanted. I would beg my dad to buy it. He'd buy it. And then I would have him play it while I watched or helped. Because the thought of losing was very stressful to me. So there were games that I enjoyed, like I was really into Looney Tunes basketball and a few other things. But generally they're not my... As someone who is literally ranked under 10,000 people who listen to Bob Dylan the most on Spotify, they told me I am clearly not above being nerdy about a thing, but video games are just not generally my thing. But I fully admit that they are art and they are story and they are cinema. It's just not generally how I like to explore art. I see.
Yeah. So the way I got introduced to video games, the first video game I ever played was Super Mario on the Super Nintendo when I was like 3. I wasn't really playing it. My sisters were very big on video games, especially like my younger sisters. Among the 4 sisters I have, the last 2 were very into video games, and they got the Super Mario game and the Super Nintendo system back in the early 90s. I was born in 1991, and I was so young that I didn't know how to play them. So what they would do was they would hand me a controller, because the system came with 2 controllers. They would hand me a controller while one of them played single player and let me feel like I was playing. I caught on pretty quick that I wasn't playing the game, but at the same time,
Classic sibling move.
Yeah, right, yeah. At the same time, I kind of didn't care, because really I just wanted to belong to the moment. Then I didn't play video games at all for years, like at least 10 years. So that situation happened when I was around 3. I didn't start playing video games again until I was 13 years old. Between those 2 points, I was going to parks and living life in a very analog way. I had toys, I had Legos, I had that sort of thing. Then when I was around 13, I had a babysitter who had 3 or 4 boys and a girl. They were much older than me, maybe not much, but they were like teenagers. I was more like 9, but they had a bunch of video games, and I would go over and play every once in a while, that sort of thing. Maybe I was more like 11 or 12, and they had the Sega Dreamcast, which was a very big deal back then, and I loved playing that game. My favorite game to play on that happened to become my favorite video game of all time, which is Sonic Adventure 2. And I played that. I played the Dreamcast version of that game, and then I decided to ask my dad one day, "Hey, Dad, could you give me a video game system?" He said, "Okay." And the video game system he got, because I didn't have a preference really, but the one that he got me was one of the big 3 that existed back then, the big 2 that existed, which was the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64. And then it was like Sega still had its stuff, but they were dying out, so I wasn't really messing with Sega. Anyway, I got a Nintendo 64 as my first video game system that I owned for me, and the first game that I owned for me was Pokemon Snap, and it has been an uphill / roller coaster ride from Pokemon Snap ever since. Eventually I discovered the Batman Arkham games. Alex, you have played a little bit of those though, right?
A little bit. And also I want to put a little bit of a land the plane on my history with video games that I just remembered while you were talking. So here's the thing about me and video games. I will not just play to play. If there's a property that all I want to do is like get in it and live in it, and then they make a video game, that will become my life until you take it away from me. That's the kind of gamer I am. Like when I found out there was Dragon Ball Xenoverse and it was a fighting game where you designed your own Dragon Ball Z character and you could go Super Saiyan and you could learn from like Piccolo and more, and that it looked like it was 2D animation, I was like, well, goodbye hopes and dreams for the next couple months, because I'm gonna go Super Saiyan 2. And then I moved out of the place that had the Xbox, so I have Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which I think you could go Super Saiyan 3 and beyond, but I have no way to play it because I don't have an Xbox. Now, when I was in this apartment, I had not played video games in so long since my old like PlayStation, where I was playing like Predator Concrete Jungle because I loved Predator and I wanted to be. It was so cool to hunt around as the Predator, and like a game about Beast Wars, which was a sub genre of Transformers where there were animals. It's really cool, and so. I knew enough about video games, pop culturally, and so then I hadn't played them in like 15 years, and so I go to play my Xbox, my roommate's Xbox, because he's out of town, said I could use it, and he had Assassin's Creed, I think 3, and I was less interested in the skulking around and murdering as much as it takes place in 1751, and I wanted to like meet Ben Franklin and stuff that you get to do in that game. For historical value, I was like, ooh, I want to be a Regency gentleman in England. Yes, please. And so I called a friend, because it wasn't turning on, because the button isn't a ka-chunk button anymore. It's like a swipey thing.
Yeah.
And you download it. So I was Rip Van Winkled into a whole new world. And I called my friend who was a gamer. I said, how do I it's not working. And he goes, okay, turn the machine on. Okay. He goes, now turn the controller on. I went, you turn on controllers now?
Oh yeah.
I was fully grandpa in this, and I think I got like a couple levels into it. I met a few historical figures, and then I was like, this is a lot of just sort of shooting a spear at people on a roof. I'm bored.
Yeah.
So the point being, I have an odd relationship with video games. I played a little of the Arkham games because when I was cat sitting for that same friend that helped me turn on the Xbox, my grandson that helped me turn on the Xbox, my friend, I was like, oh, I've heard a lot about this Arkham game. I like Batman enough. I'll do that. So I played a bit of that a little too late into the night, many nights in a row, and it was fun. I didn't play enough of it to get the whole story, but it was really cool seeing because my favorite part about Batman is the villains, and they do the villains really well in the movies, those video games. Like the Joker looks so good. He looks like he smells terrible, and Bane looks really cool, and stuff like that. I really liked any video game that's a world that would just be fun to just kind of walk around in will at least get me semi-interested.
Yeah, no, the Arkham games are not only very, very good games, but they're very important games, because when it comes to Batman as a property, and if you know anything about Batman, if you know anything about me, and if you've seen the main channel, Day Chaser Media, which currently only has 2 videos on it, 2 video essays, they're both Batman video essays. I do not plan to make only Batman video essays, but those took 7 to 9 months each to produce as I'm figuring out how to do those faster. And I wanted to start off with Batman because that's an important property. I have immersed myself in that IP heavily since most of my life, to be honest with you. He's probably my second favorite superhero behind Spider-Man, and yes, I have played all of the Spider-Man video games. I love most 5-6 of them.
Okay. Did you play the one where the Carnage symbiote goes on Doc Ock and it's kind of a nightmare?
Yes, that would be Spider-Man. The Spider-Man video game that originally came out for PlayStation and was re-released on Nintendo 64. That level boss was the final boss by the name of Monster Octopus, and you can't actually beat him. The only way to beat him is to web swing through a corridor, but the problem is that the corridor is facing in the opposite direction of the camera, so you have to react to the obstacles of the corridor, and like based on just like if you hit a wall and you have to climb up, you got to make that decision within a couple of seconds, otherwise Monster Octopus will eat you to death. And it took me maybe 2 years to beat that level.
Wow.
Yes.
And keep in mind, dear listeners, he is screeching, die. It's this really upsetting noise that he's making while he chases you, and you're literally running toward your gamer self.
Yeah.
So you're just looking at this horrifying monster that wishes you ill, and it's maybe a little much. It's maybe a little much. Fun game though.
It's a lot for a child. It was one of the most stressful fictional experiences I've ever had in my life. But
and any
it was fun.
Video game, any level where they want you to run away, like the camp that you're running away from, or running, like anything where you can't see what's in front of you, is always gonna give me like a panic attack.
Yeah,
not full on panic. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. Like I'm like, why Crash Bandicoot? Why can't I see the pit I'm falling into? This is becoming a sad metaphor for the life I'm going to experience as a millennial.
Well, the Arkham games. So okay, the Batman IP. It started off with two and a half. I say 2.5 men. God, I hate that show. Okay, it started off with two guys and then a third guy. The first guy was Bob Kane. The second guy was Bill Finger, and the third guy was Jerry Robinson. Bob Kane was a dude who took one look at Superman, Superman came out, premiered in 1938. He took one look at it. It was only existing for a year, and thought, I can make my own thing and make lots of money the way Superman did, and I won't get shafted by the comic book industry the way that the Superman creators did. Side story, the people who created Superman were so poor by the time the Superman movie came out, they couldn't buy tickets to a movie based on their own comic book. That is nuts.
Oh boy. Yeah. That is truly evil. The wonders of capitalism, as we like to say.
Well, Bob Kane was a young capitalist who saw the writing on the wall for those two dudes and went, not only am I going to make the opposite of Batman, but I'm going to make all the opposite business practices to him. And he ended up meeting up with a friend of his who lived in the same building. These were two Jewish kids in the Bronx, by the way, working in Poe Park, which is a park that still exists in the Bronx to this day. The benches where they made Batman can be sat on to this day. And one of the people, the actual true visionary behind the Batman character that we know today, is a guy by the name of Bill Finger. Bill Finger was not very capitalist. He wasn't business savvy. He was an artist type that loved to create. Unfortunately, he died alone in an apartment somewhere in the city, and they found him a couple days later after he had passed away. It's very sad. I actually had the honor of meeting one of his grandchildren, Athena Finger. I'm actually still very good friends with her and her son, and they petitioned to make sure that Bill Finger's name was on all the Batman property, because Bob Kane basically, because of the way that the comic book industry worked back then, took all of the credit for Bill Finger's work for so long that Bill Finger didn't get any credit for his work until like 10 years ago. Batman is 86 years old. He didn't really get any credit until like 10 years ago. Nuts. Yeah,
I'm enough of a comic book nerd to be aware of some of these scandals. And it's maybe a more extreme version of what like Stan Lee did to Jack Kirby, but even more so because it felt predatory, what Bob Kane did.
Right. Now, how this extends into the Batman video game history is that because Batman was created as a capitalist money grab, and all of the video games that were made for the Batman video game industry were terrible because every single one of them were just a capitalist money grab. Before Arkham, the best game that they made was like Batman Rise of Sun Tzu, and it's just a beat 'em up where you run in a straight line, you run into themed henchmen every once in a while, you beat those guys up, and then you fight a villain every once in a while. The best part about it is that the voice actors from the animated series came in to do that game. To do that game. So you had Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill playing Batman and Joker respectively. That was the history that we had with the Batman games because it was basically capitalistically infected. And then a tiny little video game company called Rocksteady got a license to Batman video games because at the time Warner Brothers did not care about Batman games much at all because they didn't make that much money. The movies made a lot of money and the toys made so much money that it ruined 2 movies, but the games didn't make that much money. So Rocksteady got it. These were people who were so passionate about the IP. They decided, you know what? Hey, they're not even really paying attention to us. Why don't we do the best possible job that we can and make something amazing, a true piece of art that represents Batman? We can get the voice actor. We can get Kevin Conroy to play Batman. We can get Mark Hamill to play Joker. They're not super busy right now. They haven't come out with any Star Wars sequels yet at the time. So maybe we can get them. And they did. And they made the Arkham games. The Arkham video games. There's four console releases that also release on PC, and I think there's 2 handheld ones. These games are, and I think there's a mobile one. Anyway, these games are exceptionally important to media history in general because they are an extension of the turning away of the Batman mythos from its hyper-capitalist origins. They are an expression of when a genuinely passionate group of people make an intellectual property. They are also they're legacied by games like Suicide Squad, where Warner Brothers made so much money off those Arkham games, they forced Rocksteady to do the exact opposite of their original philosophy and made a live service game and tanked the whole franchise. These video games represent so much about humans' relationship with media in general.
Isn't it great when a company makes a lot of money and learns all the wrong lessons, so everything they make from then on with the same strategy is bad? Isn't that great?
Yeah, isn't that great? And frankly, the mistakes that they made on the Arkham games are directly associated to why Warner's got bought out by Netflix, because they have had a history of because there's a how do I explain it? There's an index of the hyper-capitalist legacy of Warner Brothers and video games that Warner Brothers made, especially the Arkham games. You had the hyper-capitalist Jack Warner, who did, first of all, he was a horrible person, but he just to give you an understanding of who Jack Warner was, who was one of the Warner Brothers that founded that company. He bought the movie rights to the Bible.
Wait, you're telling me the Warner Brothers company wasn't founded by the Animaniacs?
You know what? I thought that for years, and I was upset when I found out, it was just some rich human. Yeah. It's like, I love the Animaniacs, but this dude bought the movie rights to the Bible. Okay, who thinks of that? Crazy people, crazy money people do that.
And in hindsight, they do be making Bible movies. Maybe he was onto something.
He was onto something.
They're making a sequel to Passion of the Christ.
Right. Yeah, and I can't wait to see the action movie Passion of the Christ. It's going to be an amazing, it's basically going to be Die Hard, but instead of climbing a building, it's probably going to be a crucifix. Like a giant
Resurrect
one. Resurrect Hard. Oh, God. Resurrect Hard. Oh, this is going to be funny. What is that even going to be about? Is it going to be the 3 days after he pushed the rock away? What that could? You can't make a movie out of 3 days of nothingness. People poking at his wounds.
I mean, he went to hell for Saturday night, which seemed kind of mean given what he just went through. We don't have time to get into the story of Christ and
we got a little bit of time. If they made a Passion of the Christ sequel and the whole thing took place in hell where he was fighting demons, that would be the most metal shit in the world.
Oh my God.
Oh my! And get Nicolas Cage to play it.
Spawn sequel.
Yes, and get Nicolas Cage to do. Have Nicolas Cage. Okay, because Warner's is doing bad. I'm okay. I'm gonna pitch the script. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. Nicolas Cage as Jesus fighting demons. And okay, so he's Ghost Rider and Jesus at the same time, and he's in hell fighting demons and Passion of the Christ too. That's it. I mean, look, we live in a world full of AI slop. I can make something stupid like that.
Yeah, I can make thought slop. No one can stop me.
Yeah. Anyway, so
authentic intelligence.
So eventually,
making weird nonsense. I can see it in my mind.
So eventually, DC Comics, which was I forget the old name, but before they became DC Comics, what?
Detective Comic? No. Marvel was Timely, but I can't remember DC. But I know I used to know all this stuff. Yeah,
Detective Comics was one of the properties that the original DC Comics, before they changed their name to DC Comics, owned, and Detective Comics is where Batman came out on. So Jack Warner's company, Warner Brothers Entertainment, eventually bought the company that we now know as DC Comics. And of course, that's where Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman and The Flash and Harley Quinn and all of them belong to, Joker. And then they have Warner Brothers Games. And they also bought the movie and video game rights to another famous property. Can you guess what that property was, Alex?
Oh, can you give me a hint?
Yes. Talking Trees.
Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yeah.
HBO Max, which I will not call Max, and thankfully they will not call themselves Max either anymore, is an interesting collection of stuff. You're like, oh, they have Lord of the Rings, they have every superhero thing that isn't Marvel. They've also got a lot of A24 stuff. I could entertain pretty much every Alex that has existed in my continuity with this for at least a couple days.
At least a couple days. So
Warner Brothers got Watchmen. Sure.
Yeah, they do have Watchmen.
College me.
Yeah, we'll do an episode of Watchmen too, because I'm a very big Alan Moore fan. Let's probably do that one next. Anyway, So Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings video game that Warner Brothers Games produced is called Lord of the Rings Shadow of War, and its sequel, Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor. If you played those games right after playing an Arkham game, you realize, oh, they just reskinned the Batman games to be Lord of the Rings. I don't mind it, but that's what they did. It's all the same controls.
Okay.
And it's cool, but then something very dark happened, capitalistically speaking.
Oh, good. Oh, good. It's not like this story was founded upon darkness. Let's get a little more in there.
Yeah. So just as a recap, we had the capitalist Bob Kane basically dooming his friend who he profited off of the ideas of for decades. His friend died in an apartment by himself. Jack Warner, who I'm not even going to get into his list of evils, but he's the guy that bought the movie rights to the Bible.
He put the Animaniacs in that tower, and I will not stand for it.
Yeah, absolutely not. Then
that is wrongful imprisonment. Sure, they can get out whenever they want, but it's kind of a problem.
Shout out to Animaniacs on Hulu.
Yeah.
So in the video game industry, and I'm old enough to have seen the video game industry evolve from the 2D pixelated video games like Super Mario on Super Nintendo to the hyper realistic 3D just clusterfuck storms that we now have as video games. We went from you can't use a controller unless it's plugged in to I can literally play my video game system from another state with the same controller. Like that's where we're that I've seen all of that. And there have been a collection of innovations, technologically speaking, and some of these innovations have been so important that if the video game industry didn't exist, that we wouldn't have certain movies. Side example, you know the Avatar movies, the James Cameron Avatar movies? Mm-hmm. Okay, you know that amazing facial capture software that he used on that first movie that everybody was like, oh, this is so amazing. Video games. They came out with a game called L.A. Noire. Terrible video game, but the entire gimmick is that they invented facial capture technology so that you can tell when the NPC. Yeah, the whole point of the game is. So
without L.A. Noire, we don't have Better Man, the monkey movie musical cocaine fest that I'm such a fan of.
Now you're getting it. Video games are super duper important in terms of media literacy.
Gave me my
and
monkey
history.
movie. I owe them a debt.
There you go. So they came out with L.A. Noire, a terrible game, and it basically the whole game was you're a gumshoe detective in like the 40s, and you have to investigate. You know, it's like a Chinatown type gumshoe detective, but it's video game. The problem is that all the actors they hired.
Was L.A. Noire a movie?
It might have been, but it was definitely a game.
There's something that sounds like that I know was a big movie that Guy Pearce in it. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, but the real problem with this game is that all the actors are terrible because they were just like, act like you're lying because
I didn't kill those people, detective.
Right, like they said, act like you're lying, and they were the worst actors in the world, and then they had to. Because the whole thing was that you had to figure out who was lying to solve the mystery, and it was just a bunch of bad actors. Anyway, in order to get this technology, in order to get the facial expressions, the micro and macro expressions to exist, they had to come up with a whole new version, a whole new technology that could capture facial expressions realistically in real time, and then pin them to a 3D face that was rigged for the expression. That tech was then translated into every Marvel movie, all of the Avatar. Like, that video game helped so many movies exist, and it doesn't get enough credit.
This just reminded me of something. I was listening to an interview with Penn Jillette from Penn & Teller, and he said magic is unlike any other art form because to play a song, you have to invent an instrument every time. And not that they're inventing an instrument every time, but it sounds like, oh, if you want to do something cool in a video game, you're like, well, time to build this thing no one's ever done before that they will all profit from except me.
Yeah.
Great. All right, time to get to innovating.
Right. Well, that leads us back to the dark thing that happened at Warner Brothers Games. For the Lord of the Rings game, which was Lord of the Rings Shadow of War, a video game where you play as a entirely original character to the Lord of the Rings universe, who he basically he watched his family get killed, and then he himself was banished from death, and he, like, the Nazgul and everybody were after him and that sort of stuff. But there was this like ancient elf who knew Sauron before he came into power with the rings that wanted revenge by stopping him from beyond the grave. So this elf possessed the body of this man. I think his name was Tyron, and they developed a symbiotic relationship. So this elf gave him ghost powers. It's basically Danny Phantom with Lord of the Rings. It's Ghost Rider plus Danny Phantom plus Lord of the Rings. It's a great game. Anyway, for this video game,
Gandalf's Spirit of Vengeance.
Basically, yes. So this game, they developed a very important piece of technology, and it is called the Nemesis engine. Have you ever heard of this?
I think I have. Maybe, but it might have been from you, so kind of wash.
Okay.
But tell me.
The Nemesis engine is it's a very special video game engine where in the traditional video game, you would have your henchman characters and your level boss characters. And the developers would have to create these characters separately. The level bosses would be these big hulking or small, they would just be powerful characters that you'd have to beat. They would be the people that you got tested on. Then in between, you would have all these henchmen that you would have to fight, right? Well, the Nemesis engine takes that entire video game paradigm and flips it on its head, where you're playing the game, you're fighting henchmen, and like any video game, you might die fighting one of these henchmen. Well, in the Nemesis engine, if that henchman kills you, they get promoted and they level up on your death. And if you try to, and you develop a relationship with them. So if you go and find them in the field again and hunt them down and they kill you again, they level up again. And then they get promoted so high that they have their own army of goons. So then you got to hunt them down to get your revenge, but then you got to go through all of these other henchmen. And if you keep dying from them, a literal nothing henchman that would have disappeared if you killed them that first time and you'd have never seen them again, turns into this hyper powerful level boss that you are responsible for creating by accident.
Well, there's upward mobility for goons.
Yes. Warner Brothers created this. Yeah. Warner Brothers created this amazing engine for the game Shadow of Mordor. Then they did it again and upgraded it for Shadow of War. So now in Shadow of War, you have the ability to assemble your own armies and go to war with the armies of the henchmen that you lost to. And it's like a Lord of the Rings, like what? Imagine the scale of a Lord of the Rings movie. You make your own Return of the King. Yes, and you can just do that all day.
And you must correct. You're like, hey, I don't know this is real, but I think my honor's at stake.
Yeah, and you can just do that all day. Imagine that. You can just do that all.
I bet a lot of people did.
Yes, and I still play it every once in a while. It's a very cool dynamic. I mean, there's dragons and stuff flying. There's giant orcs smashing through castle walls. Well, it is I know what we're doing next time we get a Domino's pizza. Yeah, I'll play a little bit for you. Play this. Yes, it's nuts. Here's the problem with the Nemesis engine. Warner Brothers filed a patent on it. They filed a patent on it, right? And they never use it again. Ever.
So it exists, locked in
The vault
like
with the Animaniacs.
Superman, solitary, dimension.
Yakko, Wacko, and Dot are sitting on top of it, locked in the vault at Warner Brothers in the Warner Towers. They didn't put it in another video.
Going, with the controller, like, is it a hat? I don't know what we're supposed to do. It's definitely not edible. Broken tooth.
Right, exactly. Like that. It's one of the most innovative bits of in-game software that could ever exist. The kind of thing that would make every video game immediately better. Warner Brothers owns it. They locked it up. They used it twice, and they don't allow anybody to even copy it. The patent on this system is so airtight that you can't even make another version of it.
Why did they never use it again?
Well, because of the same dark capitalist history. It's because they took one look at this amazing thing and thought, this could make us a whole lot of money because it's one of the greatest things that's ever been invented for a video game. We don't want anybody else to use it again. And the problem is that they had a board of directors that didn't know how to make video games that were decent without clawing at money. So it went from the Batman games made a lot of money to these two Lord of the Rings games made kind of a bit of money, but a really big money maker associated with it, the Nemesis engine. And then they thought, we need to make as much money as possible on a video game. Let's not use this amazing engine ever again. And instead, we're going to make what's called live service games. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. A live service game is, so imagine you're playing Monopoly, right? Or like, tell me what your favorite board game is, or like your favorite game in general. It doesn't have to be a video game.
Board games stress me out because I can never remember the rules. But Mousetrap was fun to play with all the traps.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
great example. Mousetrap. Mousetrap. All right. Now imagine that you are given another copy of Mousetrap, the board game, but this time you have to be connected to Wi-Fi in order for all of the pieces to work.
Oh no, it's an enshittification system.
Yes, and then not only do you have to be connected to Wi-Fi, you don't get all of the pieces. You have to do microtransactions after you've already bought the main game to get the rest of the pieces, and some of those microtransactions aren't the actual pieces, they're just different colors of the mouse, and the trap, and the board, and stupid things like that. And they try to find ways to force you to give them money forever because they are updating it live as a service for you to play. That's what a live service game is. This actually hits on something kind of important to me in that I have recently realized just how much I love the Knives Out movies. I just saw Wake Up Dead Man. I watched it like 4 times over Christmas. Amazon Prime has the original Knives Out, watched that a bunch of times, and then I was like, you know what? I had a great time with these movies. I'm gonna just buy all of them because the other 2 are on Netflix. I have Prime, but I don't have Netflix. Let me just buy Glass Onion and Knives Out. And you can't. They were on Netflix, or you go fuck yourself. And I'm like, I'm not subscribing to my new favorite thing. I'm going to pirate my favorite thing. I don't want to. It's going to have a whole lot of ads and be blurry, but I don't want to pay $22 a month to have access to 2 things I want to see. And I talked about this with a friend a lot, how the way streaming is going is you basically aren't allowed to own the things that you own, and this is sounding just like that. It is. Essentially, everything is being turned into rent.
Yes, everything is being turned into rent.
And it's not voluntary rent.
Much like the first track of Rent, everything is rent.
Yeah, it's not voluntary rent. It's like you either rent this or you get FOMO and you're treated like somebody weird that doesn't have access to any of this. I'm not really a fan of Stranger Things. Like I saw the first 3 seasons, and after that I was like, yeah, this is repetitive and stupid. And this is coming from somebody that grew up on anime. Like, it's gonna be real hard to impress somebody.
It's gotta be real dumb for me to.
Yeah, it's like, come on, like there's not a lot going on in U.S. media that's gonna impress me highly, given that I grew up on early '90s anime, back when anime was not only uncool, but it was uncool among uncool kids. You're not gonna. It's gonna be. I'm a hard.
You know how bad we had to want it, and we did.
Yeah. We had to want it once. So Stranger Things ain't like I got Akira at home. Like I don't need I don't need that. I got Akira and X-Men at home.
I'm from the town where I don't know how Stranger Things goes from season to season, but the original like Demogorgon thing is based on the Montauk Beast, which was like the next town over from where I lived.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was based on Montauk. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So I had not heard that story, but that's an urban legend from a town where like my dad and I would once in a while go because we like this Italian restaurant there, and it was like kind of by the water and stuff. So Stranger Things should hit home for me, but when Stranger Things came out, and then I'll end this tangent, everyone was like, "Oh my God, have you watched it all at 4 a.m. like I did?" And I was like, "I watched the pilot. It was pretty good." They're like, "But you didn't watch it all in one go?" I'm like, no. Like I thought it was fine. I like Winona Ryder. I thought that I didn't love the whole like. I kind of got very sick of this sort of like intense nostalgia for the 80s that we lived through for a hot second there. Yeah. And so I was like, it's pretty good. And then everyone was just very confused at how I mildly enjoyed Stranger Things and it didn't become my life. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I might finish it, I might not, I don't know. I still haven't watched more than the pilot to this day. Yeah, but,
like, to the viewers, if you like Stranger Things, that's cool, just watch it. It's fine. Yeah. I'm just, I don't think there's going to be a Stranger Things episode of the podcast. If there is, then there will be. If there's not, then fine. It's, it's just, it didn't hit the way it probably hit with some other people. There's also a Stranger Things video
episode, we could say some things.
Yeah, I'd rather do an episode about Elfin Lied before I do an episode about Stranger Things, and nobody likes Elfin Lied. I happen to be the one person I know that liked Elfin Lied. But anyway,
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. But.
It's. I think it's good.
Well, that's saying something. Rousing endorsement from Charles over here.
Right.
I thought it was good. Question mark.
I thought it was good. I liked the blood. That was fun. So anyway, yeah. So Warner Brothers, again, it's hyper-capitalist legacy. It patented off the Nemesis engine. Like, imagine if you were playing a Batman game, you were playing as Batman, and they put the Nemesis engine in it. You still had to deal with Joker and Two-Face and Penguin and all of these guys, but then you decide, or maybe not decide, but for whatever reason you lose to one of their henchmen, and then you see a fully unknown henchman have to rise through the ranks of Gotham City's underworld to become a brand new villain that exists not only just in this game, but just in your specific playthrough. It could generate villains in its own game. That's what they could have did with this.
It's like Joe Chill becoming the new Two-Face because you can't emotionally get over him.
Right. Exactly. Then the whole game will become a direct commentary on the idea that Batman is responsible for making some of his villains. They could have turned that into a video game dynamic. They could have turned it into
the Dark Knight.
Exactly.
They could have done.
Exactly. But because of greed, they vaulted one of the greatest video game technologies that's ever existed, and now Netflix owns it. And there are no plans for Netflix. There's no plans for WB games for Netflix.
The Netflix vault must be way less fun than the Prince vault.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that one's got cool music and like neckerchiefs and guitars in it. What is the Netflix one? Just innovations that we're never using. Oh, right. That's sad.
Yeah, Prince has 2,000 songs in it that we've never heard of because he couldn't quite fit them in a themed album, which is great. Mm-hmm. They're all good, I'm sure. Netflix's Warner Brothers vault is just like, what do we have in here? Okay, we got Bugs Bunny and Animaniacs and a script for Space Jam 3 through 9. We're not going to use any of this. We don't need this. It's fine. We don't need it. Just close it. It's fine. We don't need it. Oh my God!
Honestly, Space Jam 9 though.
You want to see who do you think is going to be in Space Jam 9?
No, because I think it's good. I just want to see how unhinged it gets.
It's going to be incredibly. I mean, the sequel didn't even have Space Jam really in it. Like, what's his name? YMS did a review of it, right? Of how like the first movie, the reason they called it Space Jam is because it was in space and it was amazing music. And at the time, it was it was pretty wide, not wide, but it was a colloquial expression to say that good music was the jam. So it was Space Jam. The sequel had no music and it was inside of a server. There was neither space nor jam in that movie.
So my favorite review of Space Jam 2 was from one of my favorite podcasts, My Brother and Me. Justin McElroy said he watched it with his kids, and his kids are not, they're, 5 and 6 or whatever. They're not aware of IP or copyright or things like that.
Right.
So they're watching it just going like, hey, this cartoon basketball movie is kind of bad. And he goes, I'm looking at Pennywise sitting next to Alexander Delarge from Clockwork Orange and Gandalf, and I'm like tearing my shirt off going, what is happening? It's lost on the children because they don't know how crazy and stupid that is.
Yeah, no, they don't know the mess that movie was.
Gandalf's hanging out with the Clockwork Orange kid. What's going on? Oh, Space Jam 2 is what's going on.
Yes, Space Jam 2 is what's happening. Oh my God. But yeah, back to because this is about video games.
Yeah. What I'm gathering from all this is that video games seem to be kind of like in the way how like before, I think I'm not exactly sure of this political term, but I think it's called the Imperial Boomerang. Have you heard of that?
No, what is that?
So I believe, if I'm using this term correctly, is things that like colonial superpowers do to like the downtrodden of other countries. Eventually, they will do to their own citizens to quell uprisings.
Oh, I see.
So, like, the way America treats Palestinians on a long enough timeline will eventually be how people are treated for caring about Palestine. So, like, anything you do as a colonial power that makes you level up in how evil and tyrannical you are, eventually you're going to just bring it home to make sure that you can keep doing that innovation of evil. So it keeps circling. So what I'm gathering from this is video games almost seem like a testing ground in how much bad capitalist shit can we get away with that we can then go, oh, that worked in video games. Let's do that for everything now. And now it's already too late. Does that make sense? It
does make a lot of sense. In a lot of ways, the video game industry, the global video game industry, it evolved faster than the other media industry. So we had music, we had movies, we had books, television, paintings, like any kind of media expression of human art that you could think of had a much longer timeline and shelf life than video games, obviously, because video games is a combination of several of those media entities put together, even more so than filmmaking, which filmmaking, if you understand films, that's writing, that's shooting video, that's music, that's a whole bunch of art styles combined into one. Video games is all of those and then interactive computer technology and super innovative cutting edge stuff all combined into one. That being said, video games kind of became not only the experimental space for very quick results of capitalist media experiments, but also the place where some of the biggest innovations have happened. You know, the LA Noire thing, the Nemesis engine, that sort of stuff. Then there were some of the most egregious predictions of where capitalism was about to go also happened among the video game industry and among the conversations of like a video game that wouldn't let you play it unless you were online only. That was a nightmare conversation that happened quite often during the original Xbox days when they first released Xbox Live, because the conspiracy theorists back then immediately saw that this could become something that would be infected by people's greed, and they unfortunately ended up being right. And then the model of like, can we put video games on anything, was a conversation that people were having for years. It's like there's that joke like, can it run Doom? Like that's the expression of, if you have a computer that uses like the least amount of components, can you still play the old video game Doom on it, like the 2D video game? And okay. And like it's a meme because it's like a literal thing. Like there's this meme of this one kid who got punished and his mom took his Xbox away and took his computer away, but the child was so smart that he took computer parts from computers that were abandoned around his house, and he built a computer, and not only could it run Doom, he was playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on it.
Wow.
Yeah, very smart kid. Very smart kid. Definitely let that kid cook. Start saving for his college now. Anyway.
Yes. Make sure he doesn't become evil. Let's steer him away from making this problem worse, because that kind of intelligence can
That's
be
true.
a risk.
That's true. He did technically use his intelligence to make technology to disobey his parents. So that is a whole other thing. But innovation
But that
is
is
innovation.
also the origin story of someone who could do good for the world. So I'm not
Yes, it is.
precluding hope here.
Yes, it is. What was I saying before?
I was saying how like video games are where they test evil shit before they do them to other kinds of media.
Yes, video games, that medium, they test all kinds of stuff on video games. And if it's not a direct, purposeful test, it's an involuntary test. Essentially, the video game industry has allowed society, especially media industries, to figure out so much about what they can and cannot do, business-wise, technology-wise, just about every aspect of making a media property that's profitable. The video game industry is where that stuff like is either tested and innovated on or germinates and becomes the progenitor for. Yeah, it's amazing to watch. It just is. Like these days, because people probably are wondering, well, if you're such a big gamer, what kind of games are you playing now? I'm gonna say this right now, and Alex, you're probably just now hearing this expression. I'm not a ball and gun gamer. Have you ever heard of this expression?
I have not.
Okay. A ball and gun gamer is somebody that only plays video games that involve sports like FIFA or 2K or NFL or baseball. Probably baseball games to a lesser degree. And gun is like Call of Duty, the Battlefield, Destiny, like where all you do is throw a ball, shoot a gun, throw a ball, shoot a gun.
I had a Vietnam simulator once when I was a kid. That's problematic. It's a fun game though.
Yeah. You think that's problematic? They released
I know it's worse.
But they released a video game. I think it was a Call of Duty game where they not only reenacted World War II, they took the actual names of people who died in World War II as not POWs, but like soldiers that died from it, and then you play in the intro, you play as some of the dead soldiers, and every time you die in the beginning, they show you the name of one of those soldiers.
That's troubling.
Yeah. Oh, it gets darker. They had people who participated in some major wars, and they made video games about those wars, reenacting and recreating some of the stories that they talked about, and it legitimately caused some of them PTSD because it was so accurate.
Oh my fucking Christ.
Yeah. So when you said this is the testing ground, bro, you have no idea.
It's interesting to me because video games are like the most profitable kind of media, and yet it is also seems to be weirdly, because it's such an intimate thing that you're doing kind of quiet in the dark at 2 a.m, that it seems like they can test shit on you, where it almost feels like a small and a big environment at the same time.
Yeah, it's like it's a microcosm that expands into a larger data pool.
Yeah, and like I said, you'd think like, oh, well, things would funnel up to the biggest media, but like, no, this is a generally solitary activity, which means they can test some shit because everyone's gonna feel like they're alone doing it, which means, obviously the gamers can be, as we've seen, a very mobilized fan base for good and ill, but it's interesting to me that this huge thing also acts as kind of like a small testing group that then bad ideas in terms of exploitation kind of break that as the first stage and then infect movies and whatever.
Very much so. I mean, the video game industry definitely has a dark side.
Yeah.
Honestly, the video game decisions that Warner Brothers made, between the bad DC movies and the bad Arkham sequel that they made, those are probably the reason why Warner Brothers had to sell themselves to Netflix.
Whoa.
Yeah, like it's that I mean, it's a media company, so obviously, like you can only, it's hard to make money off of The Rock's ego when he says he doesn't want to be in the same movie as Superman, and the biggest cash cow you have is either Batman or Superman, and this dude wants to play Black Adam. Like, come on now. Yeah. But anyway,
wants to be Black Adam or that MMA guy that no one knew who he was before that movie. Right,
exactly. With the Smashing Machine, right?
The Smashing Machine, which is an okay movie. We don't have time, but it's
But anyway, to wrap this up, Because we'll revisit video games in a less general way later, because I would love to do a redux where I've exposed Alex to some of the video games that I've played as a way to get his opinion of it. I'll probably do one playthrough with Alex of one video game, and then we'll review the emotional themes of that more directly. But for those who are probably wondering, what kind of games do you play, Charles? I play a video game called Warframe. One, because it's a very good and well-made game. Two, because it's a game that is the antithesis of all of the greed that has infected so many industries. And three, because more than 10 years ago, when they released a small little game called Destiny, one of the biggest games of the last 15 years, I distinctly remember when they announced it that Destiny, the developers who made it, they made a bunch of promises that I knew they couldn't keep. And it offended me so badly I refused to play the game. And then Warframe came out, and it made good on just about 80% of the promises that Destiny said it was gonna do, and it didn't have any marketing, and it's a free game. You can play it for free. There are microtransactions in it, but all you can do is buy like one or two kinds of currency, and every other currency you have to earn by playing the game. There's a Video Game Awards. They only got invited to the Video Game Awards for the first time this year. The game is 13 years old. Yeah, and the reason why...
It's really kind of an unsung Velvet Underground kind of, it doesn't get its flowers till later kind of a thing.
It's like it's like one of the most high-end indie games ever, and their whole thing is they don't give a shit about how anything else in the video game industry runs. They don't give I'll put it like this. The creative director of Warframe, she just revealed, maybe I'm late to the party, but she just revealed on her Instagram that she is also the voice of one of the main characters in the game. Yeah, because there's a bunch of people that love the thing that they made. Very few things in any media functions like that. So I play a lot of Warframe. I also play a game called Deadcraft, which is this tiny little indie game where you play as this half man, half zombie that is surviving in the world and during a zombie post-apocalypse. But the zombie virus is a plant-based virus. So you can actually get the corpses of people who are alive, plant them in the ground, infect them with the zombie virus, and then they grow like plants that's zombies that you can control. It's so dumb. And it's so fun.
That sounds like both of those things. Yes, dumb and fun. It sounds kind of like Last of Us, except you can control the mushroom zombie.
Yes, and I played
through planting them, like an Animal Crossing or something, or Stardew Valley, one of those harvesting games. Right,
exactly. And I played The Last of Us. The Last of Us is amazing. People thought The Last of Us 2 sucked because they were sexist as hell, and they didn't like the idea of a female protagonist with muscly arms. And I'm like, no, that game was perfect. It was amazing.
How dare you beat my video game dad to death? Well, it may move the story. I don't want stories to move.
Right.
I want them to remind me that it's okay, I'm unemployed.
Right. You know, matter of fact, we'll do a playthrough of The Last of Us, because that is a video game. First of all, they have a series that we can watch, and then we can go through the video games. Yes, I heard it was very good. I haven't seen it just because I played the games. I didn't think I needed to watch it, but I'll watch it just for the sake of it. And then we'll do probably watch through some of the cutscenes of the video game so that you can get a sense of how the medium changed or evolved the message.
Now, little caveat about this, just so you know what we're getting into. The creator of The Last of Us made this to mimic his experience of living in Israel and feeling surrounded by Palestinians.
Yeah, so, I didn't know that before I played those.
Yeah, but it also seems like everyone involved past that just made it about cool and about surviving and loving yourself, like each other during a zombie apocalypse. But I just wanted to know that was there in case that affected our decision to cover it. That's like, that's yeah.
That's definitely a consideration. That's definitely something I would consider. Yeah.
I don't think that's Pedro Pascal's fault. But
no. I don't think so. Anyway, that being said, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Engage with the comments, that sort of thing. What video games are you playing? Do you play them at all? That's it. Bye. I'll force Alex to look at me play